Distressed sales fall. Will the housing bubble ever burst? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this domain article and ask the question, will the housing bubble ever burst? It seems to be that they're throwing everything they can at property. Every single thing. I'm just waiting for Mortgage Keeper, which I continually joke about, to materialize into an extra thing. We'll just have to wait. I mean, who would have thought that businesses could trade while insolvent? That people would be receiving mortgage holidays and then extended mortgage holidays and then the potential for interest-free payments. Or the bank just publicly declaring that they won't repossess anyone's home until September 2021. There you go. These are all the unnatural things that are being done to throw at the housing market. And I'm sure people will say, yeah, we need to keep housing more expensive, but you need to step away from that. If you know, we all like having our property. We all like it being worth a lot of money. We all like feeling that we've made fantastic investment decisions and made money doing absolutely nothing. But this is going to have ramifications. We're seeing it manifest in just the lack of economic complexity in our country. We're seeing it with a K-shaped economy, increasing number of people that just can't seem to get into the market. And that's going to have ramifications because people want to have a home, they want to have families, and they'll avoid doing all of that. And if they don't buy a house, I'd say just jump into it and go for it. But some people are understandably too scared to do that. So let's have a look. Distressed sales fall to pre-pandemic levels in most cities, according to Domain. So urgent property sales have dropped back to pre-pandemic levels in most cities, with ongoing government support measures and extended mortgage holidays providing a buffer for those facing financial difficulty. Despite Australia recording its biggest economic contraction since the 1930s this year, new data from Domain has shown that distressed listings in October were at their lowest level since the coronavirus pandemic in all capital cities bar Hobart. Sellers in most cities were actually in a better position than in February, even with some initial 6-month mortgage holidays coming to an end. Does that make sense, everyone? It's because we haven't really felt this recession yet. We're in the all quiet on the Western Front period of the battle. Hobart was the only city where distressed listings remained slightly elevated, with 0.2% of listings classified as distressed compared to 0.1% in February. But it still had the lowest level of distressed sales in all capitals. Domain senior research analyst Nicola Powell said the short window between the first economic impacts of the pandemic and the introduction of government support measures and mortgage deferrals had limited urgent sales. So the government stepped in, everyone. So here's the rate of distressed sales by city, and we can see in October, 0.2. We can have a look there. There you go. It's all dropped. It's all dropped since March. Boom, boom, down, 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 down. All below February, except for Hobart. To determine the rate of distressed sales, listing data was filtered for descriptions that included, but were not limited to, reduced price, mortgage in possession, urgent sale, and motivated vendor. Such sales peaked in autumn in all cities except for Melbourne. Distressed listings peaked there at 1.1% in September. Dr. Powell said this reflected buyers trying to offload property quicker amid the city's ban on private property inspections, a ban which was lifted in late September. Melbourne is now back to its pre-pandemic levels, with only 0.8% of listings distressed in October. We see next to zero increase in distressed listings. There really hasn't been a great change, said Jock Langley, director of Ambercomb's Real Estate in Inner Melbourne. The inner city, southeast and west of Melbourne were among just the dozen regions out of 87 regions nationally where there are more distressed listings now than there were in February. Mr. Langley said, while some people were feeling the pinch, most had the support or financial buffers needed to wait it out. He expected the market could continue to strengthen between now and the festive season, when buyer demand outweighed supply, but noted weakness was still expected in the inner city high-rise unit market. Those are the investments. Were they ever a good buy, guys? Let me know in the comments. Were buying in these apartments ever considered a smart financial move? You know, we never really looked. I didn't even consider it. We wanted to have a family. I grew up in Coldstream down in Victoria in my early childhood, so we had a quarter-acre block. And then when we came up here, Rachel and I, we studied at Brisbane, settled here, and we lived in a rental house, a share house that we had as students, and we were looking at 1 or 2 apartments. I go, nah, I don't want a baby in this. We found a real fixer-upper, but we found one because you're buying the land. So are they considered a smart investment? I guess maybe downsizing old folks, but then they usually, I think, tend to go to more townhouses where they got a little bit more, they got a little bit of garden and some breathing room. And you could probably actually have a smoke in your own backyard. Other capital cities recorded an improvement, but Dr. Powell warned ongoing support measures were masking their true financial losses facing homeowners, and that's it right here. And the question is now, will they allow the market to adjust? Will the government allow the market to adjust and distressed sales to materialize because it could have a negative effect on the price? Or will they concoct some other new intervention scheme or fantastic, brilliant idea, Mortgage Keeper or Job Keeper 5, or I don't know anymore. It's just getting crazy. Because we all have to pay for it in the end, either with future taxation or inflating away the purchasing power of our savings. Fantastic, your house is worth $1 million. A loaf of bread costs $10. Wonderful. You know, we're all rich. Distressed sales were most common in Darwin at 2.8% of listings, followed by Brisbane at 2.5%. They were followed by Sydney at 1.7%, Perth at 1.5%. The latter recorded the biggest improvement over the 9-month period, falling 0.8 percentage points. While repayments resumed on almost half of deferred mortgages by mid-October, according to the ABA, there were still some 270,000 deferred home loans. Dr. Powell said any significant increase in distressed sales would only occur when those homeowners had to resume repayments, and even then the banks would do all in their power to prevent forced sales. What they'll do is they'll tap you on the shoulder. They'll say, mate, you got to sell. Because they don't want the cascade. They don't want the bad news, the publicity. How many they're trying to put spin on everything. How much juicing up the market. The government's giving out home builder grants left, right, and center. You don't have to pay stamp duty. All of these things. Okay, all of these things that we've had in place for so long. Now we can just magic it all away and give away money like nothing. Why don't we do that all the time? Because there's a consequence of it. And that consequence will manifest not today, not tomorrow, but eventually it will. And so people need to position themselves to deal with that potential consequence. What are the strategies that you're doing? The most at-risk regions will be those with the greatest level of negative equity, such as parts of Western Australia, Queensland, and the Northern Territory, Dr. Powell said. In areas such as Hobart, where wages were low and prices rose rapidly in recent years, there could be more homeowners who had overextended themselves. PRD real estate chief economist Daiswati Mardiasoma, my apologies, I butchered that, said the rebounding jobs market has it rebounded. The unemployment's at 6.9%. You know what? Let's have a look. I'll bring up the Roy Morgan unemployment here. We haven't looked at that in a few days. We'll jump here. This is Roy Morgan. Unemployment estimates. They're saying we're at 12.8%. Combined unemployment and underemployment at 22.2%. How's it rebounding? 0.1 up, I guess. 12.9 to 12.8, or maybe from 13.8 to 12.8. That's still a really high level of unemployment, everyone. So, even so, banks estimate about 15% of deferred loans are at greater risk of not being able to resume repayments, and Moody's rating agency expects mortgage delinquency rates to rise even as the economy improves, with areas dependent on tourism, hospitality, and retail expected to be hit hardest. That's Queensland. Okay, let's have a look. Ooh, Gold Coast. Region with the highest rate of distressed listings, Gold Coast, 5.5%. I'm not at all surprised. I mean, I grew up there. You know, I'm a Miami High boy. My mother still lives down the Gold Coast, and we go down there every now and then to visit her. But I wonder how many of those distressed listings are tourist accommodation or Airbnb property where there's absolutely the market's just gone. You know, that's going to happen. I have to ring up my mate. He had an Airbnb apartment he bought there, and he was loving it, renting it out. I have to see how it's going. New South Wales, Sydney, inner west 4.7, 4.5% in South Australia. Look, Queensland, outback, inner city. Aren't people saying that Queensland's property is going to the moon? Look at that. Inner city 3.4%, Logan 3.4%, Mackay 3.3%, Toowoomba 2.9%. Then you got Darwin, Brisbane South 2.8%, Ipswich 2.7%. So Queensland, we are really right in here. We are overrepresented in this table, everyone. All fellow Queenslanders. What's going on? Well, our unemployment is part of the highest in the country. We've got businesses going under left, right, and center. The bankruptcy coastline that I talked about in a previous video. We're a tourism-dependent state, everyone. And the election, there was no real dialogue about opening up the borders to allow for tourism. So, it doesn't matter really who you voted for because you were screwed either way. So, Dr. Martisoma said banks would exhaust all other options before resorting to forced sales and offer customer various options to restructure their finance over their extended deferral period if needed. They don't want to be the one holding the loan. They want a profit from it, she said. She said an urgent sale or reduced price didn't necessarily mean the owner was in financial strife, adding it could be used if they wanted to sell quick due to other lifestyle changes or to take advantage of the current market conditions. Nationally, just over half of the top 20 regions for distressed listings were in Queensland, 4 were in New South Wales, 2 in Northern Territory, and 2 in WA, and 1 in SA. The Gold Coast had the highest rate of 5.5%, which Dr. Martisoma attributed to the region's reliance on tourism and international buyers and the high supply of apartments. And the apartments, they're pretty shonkily built down the Gold Coast too. She added areas that were popular with international students or home to more casual or part-time workers could also see more distressed sales. Of the 20 regions, the South Australian Outback and North Sydney and Hornsby regions were the only areas where distressed listings were still elevated. Selling agent Alex Mintorn of McGrath Wahroonga said units in the upper North Shore were difficult to sell, but houses were hot demand, recording prices 10 to 15% higher than before COVID. So people are going for houses, they're not going for units. Mr. Mintorn said most of the financially affected by the pandemic had enough equity to ride out the storm, and price drops on listings were usually to try to secure a sale faster as the vendors had purchased or wanted to purchase elsewhere. There was a unit I sold in Pimble on Friday where they took about $35,000 off what they wanted, as they were worried the housing market was getting away from them and wanted to sell faster. So there we have it, everyone. What's going on in Australia? We've got left, right, and center, but then we've got so many people, particularly in Queensland, that are doing whatever they can to move that property quick. Do you think we'll see the bubble burst when all the support mechanisms are removed, when JobKeeper is scaled back, when mortgage holidays finally disappear, when the bank's guarantee to not repossess homes disappears, when trading while insolvent disappears? Or will they just invent new things? What do you reckon? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays or Teespring, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you next episode.